Hey there, welcome to another episode of Sage Studio. I'm your host, Tiffiny Webster, and today I have a wonderful guest with us. Dr. Fleming is here to talk all about AI integration into college and career planning. Dr. Fleming, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Tiffany. I'm excited to be here. Big fan of Say Joke, and so excited to talk to your listeners and your parents today.
They are going to love it because you are really breaking down how the game is changing when it comes to preparing our students for college and careers, how things don't look like they did a few years ago or even a few weeks ago. And I can't wait to dive into what it is that our parents need to know to stay in the loop with what's happening and how are these shifts impacting their kids and their next step post high school. Let's first start off with just a little bit of a background on who you are and what you do. Let our listeners in on that.
Sure. So, name is Kevin. Please call me Kevin. I've been in education for 26 years. I was primarily a community college guy. So I was in faculty in a classroom. I was a dean, over 42 academic programs, a vice president, and I volunteered and worked both regional, state, and nationwide with the National Science Foundation. So been heavily entrenched in career education and really blurring the walls between education and the real world. So for a number of years, I've done labor market analysis and done a lot of work really connecting employers and community nonprofits with the classroom so that students get hands-on real world experiences in a very customized and personable way, which is why I love the Sage Oak approach and mission. I've been a big advocate for personalized learning for a very long time. And so I love the model and really want to help. Normally I work with schools, charter and traditional schools, about how to take the next step in really what I would call future-proofing a student's career and giving them as many competitive advantages as possible. So it's not just about getting one internship or getting that one piece of exposure, but how do we rack up a bunch of those so students have the clarity of who they are, the confidence of where they're going, and then they have the competitive advantage to be at the top of that applicant pile moving forward. So it's primarily what I've been doing. I do a lot of time speaking and writing and informing groups like this.
I love it. Okay, so you have got really these three different areas of your background that I think are so interesting. Like you have obviously a very solid background in education, yet you also have a lot of experience with careers and that real life work aspect of things, along with the speaking and the educating of the parent side. So I love how all of those three things come together. You mentioned something about future proofing our students. What does that mean? Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means?
Absolutely. And in fact, this is pretty fundamental. And like the main message I want to get across to everyone today is that everyone knows the world is changing. Everyone's aware that the rate and speed of change is accelerating. But I want to really highlight what that looks like and talk about it in context of our students, especially if you have like middle school or high school students. And if you have elementary, you're ahead of the curve because now you can really plan ahead. But they're going to enter a completely different world when they graduate than even what we were familiar with a few years ago. And it's hard to wrap our head around it. And so first, a disclaimer, I do not have a crystal ball. I am not Marty McFly from Back to the Future. I cannot see exactly what's going to happen a few years from now. But I want to share some markers to share like the trend and where we think it's going.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to share a couple of visuals. So for those that are just listening to the audio, I encourage you to go to the YouTube channel or something and watch this because I'm going to share a couple of visuals. All right, the
Cool.
first I harvested from another speaker because we don't steal from each other. Tiffany, but we harvest from others.
Harvest. I love that.
This is a picture from the U.S. National Archives, and it's Easter morning, Fifth Avenue in New York City. The year is 1900, and the street is full. For those that aren't looking at the visual, it's a street, a black and white photo of a street that is full of horse-drawn carriages, and there's one automobile, one Model T Ford in the year 1900. Now, fast forward 13 years, half a generation. 13 years later, there's a picture of the same street, Easter morning. It's still Fifth Avenue in New York City, but it's 1913. And now the street is full of all cars, only one horse-drawn carriage. So 13 years is also interesting because that happens to be kindergarten through 12th grade. So when you think about the amount of time a student is in the traditional compulsory education timeline before they graduate from high school, that's the same timeline we're thinking here. And imagine, I want everyone listening to imagine what life might have been like during those 13 years, where the rate of transportation, the rate of deliveries and commerce and travel was a certain speed in 1900, and it exponentially grew and expanded in just 13 years. I love the illustration because it's so clear and we can understand how much that would have mattered to families, right?
Sure.
I think we're in the middle of one of those 13 years now with AI and ChatGPT and all of its iterations, but it's even faster. So I think they say, whoever they are, I'm using air quotes, they say instead of 13 years, the speed will be about half. It'll be about 6 to 7 years.
Wow.
So now we're talking about a sixth or seventh grader. And now you go 7 years, by the time they graduate, they're going to be in a totally different world, analogously with this, with a different speed. So I want to share one thing that's super cool that just came out. So OpenAI is the company that released ChatGPT. I'm going to
Okay.
assume a lot of listeners are familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago ish, they just released in October, they released an app called Sora. Now, Sora, same company, but it's a different app. This is the very first time, Tiffany, that they've released a video generator that includes sound just by prompting with text. This has never been done. It is super disruptive. So I have a couple of samples that I want to show. Right now, they're limiting you. It's a free version of Sora. They limit you to 10-second videos. So I apologize for those that can't see the visual on this if you're just listening, but I want to share with you, I have 3 examples of some
Okay.
10-second clips. Now, I showed this to my daughter who is in third grade. And so she had fun with this. She said, Dad, just type you as a merman fighting a shark. Okay.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
you as a merman fight. So here's a 10-second clip generated by Sora. I literally just typed in, I scanned my face and I typed in me as a merman fighting a shark. And here is the 10-second clip of this video. It is hyper realistic.
Wow. Oh my
I it
gosh.
it literally took me, I want to say like 30 seconds. I
Wow.
typed it in, and here's another one. My wife said, okay, you as the star in Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Okay.
Okay, like on stage. So
Okay.
here's a 10-second clip. Here's me,
Donny Osmond vibes. I love
and
it.
on the back end of this, it's doing all, I don't know if it's coming through, but does all the audio and the sound and the music and everything.
Oh
I don't
my
think I clicked
gosh.
the button for that. And then she said, the last one I'll share, and I showed these examples about how absurd they are. She said, you're on the beach eating Cheetos with a cat.
Okay.
I said, okay, it's random. And so here I am on the beach eating Cheetos with a cat.
Oh my
And
gosh, it's so
it does, like, the
realistic.
background has some like seagulls in the background and the waves crashing. Now, this is the worst version of this we will ever see, Tiffany. It
Oh
will
my
only
goodness.
get better. And it's pretty good. Like, it's not great. It's not perfect. There's glitches and like the audio
Yeah.
gets chopped off and it's weird. I think this is just my best guesstimate. What do I know? But I think 6 to 12 months from now, every commercial, a lot of our sitcoms, everything except some reality TV, and even then some reality TV show, all the models we see on billboards and in magazine ads, they're all going to be based off of AI and apps like Sora. And this is the first of many. So when we look at content creation, TV and video production, I would not recommend, and this is just my opinion, because of this kind of technology, I would not recommend any student to go into costume design or hair and makeup for TV, or to become an audio visual lighting gaffer or something for movies. I think Hollywood is going to be completely disrupted and maybe in the next X number of years replaced.
Wow.
And that's like really weird and scary to think about. And maybe I'm wrong. But again, disclaimer. But you can't, I think it'd be foolhardy for us to look at technology like this and assume that it won't have any disruptive magnitude. And I want to share one other visual. For
Okay.
those that aren't familiar with, we all know of Tesla cars. Tesla is also creating the Optimus robot. And this is very cool. I encourage everyone to Google image or look at videos on this. But this is a humanoid robot that they've been working on for many years. I read recently they have 20 different motors and joints in the hand to simulate a human hand with the dexterity of a human. And if you go on YouTube and just look up Tesla Optimus robots videos, it is cooking, it is cleaning, it is doing the dishes, it is mowing the
Wow.
lawn, it is repairing shingles on the roof. It's serving popcorn in a movie theater. It's working on assembly lines. It's delivering Amazon packages. So it's very scary and awesome and fascinating that these are going to be in mainstream production. Now, I'll stop sharing it and I'll share what I heard recently from Tesla. They're going to be commercially viable. They're planning, Tiffany, for these to be on sale for you and I to purchase fall of 2026, spring of 2027.
That's outrageous. That's right around the corner.
Like faster than I think any of us will really be ready for. Now, the cool thing about this is imagine every senior citizen has a home health aide
Yeah.
that can help get the medicine, help them get up if they have mobility issues. Like there's a lot of positives to this, right? There's also a lot of kind of scary. I think about every movie I've ever seen about
Yeah.
Terminator and
Yeah.
iRobot and all these things.
The machines are
Right.
taking over.
Yeah, and could that happen? I pray not, but who knows? But we gotta safety's obviously concerned, and they're looking in that, and et cetera. So some people never want one of these in their home, but I think there's going to be millions of people starting next fall who start having these, and they'll have a built-in housekeeper, butler, landscaper, cook, tutor for their child, and that will do one-on-one homework assistance. The ramifications of this are somewhat endless. I don't think we really know what they are. So
Yeah.
all that to say, because of apps like Sora, and because of technology like the Tesla Optimus robot that are coming, and dozens more that we're not highlighting today, we need to think about how to prepare our students for careers very differently. So it used to be, I'm in my late 40s. So it used to be back in the day, oh, you went to school, you earned a knowledge or a skill, you got a degree and a diploma, and then you got a job. And it was a linear relationship where you get educated first and then you get a job. And it was like this correlation kind of relationship. I think that's getting disrupted a lot, Tiffany. I don't think that's going to be our students' future anymore.
I was
You
just going
know,
to ask that. I would say most parents probably think that's still the plan. Is that not the plan? What's the plan? Is it
I
different
think
now?
it's I think it's totally going to be different now, and it'll be ambiguous. It'll be flexible. I think so. So here's one stat that I read from McKinsey and Company, which is a think tank that does all these projections of labor market. It used to be that we would have 6 jobs throughout our career.
Okay.
We'd have 6 jobs, averaging between 7 to 12 years each. We may be in different careers, or different industry sectors, but we can anticipate having about 6 jobs. Then it jumped to 12 jobs because of the pandemic, and now because of apps like ChatGPT and AI and Optimus robots. Now they say that our high school students will have 24 different jobs across 3 careers over their lifespan.
Okay, wait, hold on. That is wildly different. How do we even begin to prepare our students for all of that? Like, I think a lot of parents were feeling like, hey, we just got to narrow it down to one field and choose something within that field. That will be the career path, the college path, like everything that we're working for. How do parents then prepare for that wide range of different jobs, different careers, even like completely different genres of careers?
So to do that, we need a total mindset shift. We no longer need to think of it as preparing our students for a career.
Okay.
We can't even think of it as preparing them for multiple careers that we can identify today. The reality is every industry is going to be disrupted and changed by all this new technology, and no one has a crystal ball. So instead, what we need to do is work on the fundamental skills on how to help our students have what I would call career navigation skills. So they
Hmm.
understand who they are, how to leverage their strengths. First of all, you have to know what your strengths and your aptitudes are,
Sure.
how to leverage that, and then you have to learn how to learn and learn how to network and learn how to build what they call social capital, which is really increasing your network of the folks you know in the field that you know. And there's a principle called S curves. An S curve, like the letter S, is the lifespan of any knowledge or the lifespan of any technology. So, like Apple iPhones have an S curve, Windows operating systems have an S curve. And whenever technology becomes outdated, then it gets replaced by something else that's rising in that cusp of the S
Okay.
curve over time. So, our students' careers also have an S curve. So no matter what they do, here's something I really want parents to understand. No matter what your child goes into first, they probably won't be doing it 10 years later, at least
Hmm.
not in the same way.
Okay.
So we need to be okay with a lot more ambiguity and flexibility, and giving our students permission to pivot and to plan to pivot, permission to know that they don't have to pick what they're going to do the rest of their life. They just need to pick what they want to do first. And
Mm,
like that alone, that mindset like reduces a lot of
totally.
anxiety.
Yes. Yes, because it doesn't feel like you're doing it wrong if you shift. It's, oh, I realize going into this, I'm starting here, and where I start does not have to be where I finish. That is a totally different mind shift.
Totally different mind shift. And so now it's okay, you're going to enter this. And then how are we going to prepare you to pivot and shift and grow and learn and ride those S curves and be able to anticipate where the industry is going and never be complacent,
Mm.
never be done growing and learning, because the rate of change in every industry will continue to exacerbate. So the skills we need to teach our students now, it's not, yes, they need a high school diploma. Yes, they still need to have some industry skills, but they need to know that all skills have a shelf life. And it used to be longer. Now it's 3 years, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So we need to mentally prepare our students and our families to hop every 3 to 5 years. And again, I want to say this, it used to be job hopping was bad.
Yeah.
Do you remember when it used to be like you look at a resume? And I was always told, I don't know if you were taught this, but I was like, oh, you don't want to leave a job too soon because you want to show loyalty and
Mhm.
stability. And so you want to stay loyal to an employer for a while. Now it's done a 180-degree flip where now a lot of companies are looking at it like, man, you've been at that company for 15 years. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you
Yes.
grow? Why didn't you
Uh-huh.
leave? Why didn't you have a side hustle? Like, where is your grit? And so it almost works against you now, which is, it's hard for a lot of us to wrap our heads around that because we were taught and ingrained for so long that there was like a right way to prepare for employment and prepare for careers. It's 100% upside down now.
Okay, I've got a lot of questions about this. I think this is such a fascinating topic, and I really do think that learning to take on this new mindset is going to be a bit of a shift for both parents and for students. So, let me start with this question, which is how do we best prepare our students? I guess it would be like emotionally to be able to have that mindset of I'm going to be more flexible, I am going to have more agility. I'm going to be willing to continue to grow. Where does all of that type of mindset come into play? How do they acquire the skills that they need to make those kind of pivots?
Great question. So I created a framework that really boils it down into 4 different types of skills
Okay.
that students need. So the first thing we need to do is provide them some kind of a framework or a blueprint so they can understand how to navigate this.
Okay.
So I'll go through them just real quick. So the first is academic skills. So students need to know how to read, how to write, how to consume new information, how to synthesize it, how to use AI as a tool. And it's a tool like a screwdriver or a
Mm-hmm.
crescent wrench. So ChatGPT is a tool, Sora is a tool. There's a website called Replit, the REPLIT. It'll create AI agents for you for a very nominal monthly cost. That's a tool. So students need to understand these academic knowledge, this what I would just broadly call academic knowledge about how to leverage information and tools, understand its application, and then be
Mm-hmm.
able to explain it to someone else.
Okay.
The second skill every student needs is going to be life skills. Now, these are ones that no parent will ever disagree with. This is about financial literacy. This is about proper nutrition. This is about goal setting, time management, all the things that there may not be a test on per se, but the things that just to be a functional, literate, like human being in society, they need to know these things. This includes a little bit about legal bases, a little bit about technology and computer literacy. So they need to know all these like life skills.
Okay.
The third skill in this framework, I would say every student needs is employability skills. Now, this is going to be either not just how to get a job, but it's also how to keep a job, how to manage up, how to ride the S curves of changing industries, how to be current with publications and videos on where the industry is going, how to build your social capital. And it might also include how to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
So the Junior American, which is a great national group that does a lot of work with K through 12, they did a survey of high school students a few years ago, Tiffany, and they found that over 70% of students want to be their own boss, either full or in part. Like everyone wants that side hustle.
Yeah.
So part of this third skill of employability skills also includes like how to be self-employed, how to brand yourself, how to post and present yourself on LinkedIn and social media to carve your niche and your brand and be self-employable and start your own business if you need to. So that's all part of this broader kind of employability skills bucket.
Okay.
And then the fourth skills framework are technical skills.
Okay.
So now we get into the actual clicks and picks and hands-on skills of what it's because it's no longer what you know, it's what you can do. So you have
Mm-hmm.
academic knowledge, there's life skills, there's employability skills, and then technical skills. So I think what's really helpful is to think that through and talk to our students about, okay, there's 4 different types of skills you need. Let's define it. Let's talk about it. Let's research what they are. Let's write them down. What are as many different academic skills you can think of? What are all the different employability or entrepreneurial skills you can think of? And then start discussing that as a framework to then identify, all right, what do you know and what can we work on? And what are things you want to grow in and we can slowly start chipping away at? But I think having just that framework of knowing what those 4 skills are, and I'll even encourage when I do workshops with parents and educators, I'll say, take a piece of paper and fold it in 4s
Love
and
it.
half, then and half again. And then each quadrant of the paper, like
Yes.
actually write these down because that's when it becomes real.
Yeah.
It's not just something that lives up in our head, but it's something that they can actually write down and think about. And I think that gives them a framework for their whole lives. It's not just about getting the first job, but it's okay throughout your whole life. Let's talk about lifelong learning. And because of the technology that'll come out 10 years from now, we can't even think of. How are you going to be able to use that and learn the technical skills about that and leverage that for employability or self-employability and entrepreneurship? And so I think the framework is really helpful for all of us throughout our lives.
Yeah, I love that. I think that framework helps. It's very simple, but it's also very powerful. And I love that by just putting things into those four main categories, education, life, employability, and tech, students can really organize where it is that they need to grow. And also, too, you can start to see, okay, if I'm racking up a bunch of degrees here and I'm just on the education path, but I am not staying current with how to apply some of these tech skills, you can see how that's going to be a deficit for you and how you really can say, okay, this is an area where I need to put a little more focus in and gain a little bit more skill set. Same thing too with if you are a great employee but struggling a little bit on the human lifestyle side of things and managing the life, then you know, okay, that's where something I need to work on, time management or organization, executive functioning skills, things like that. So I love that. I love the piece of paper too, because it is lo-fi, it is low tech, and that is just something that you can, anyone, anytime, when they want to sit down and kind of work on this, they can grab a quick piece of paper, fold it into four quadrants, and then plot away. So I think that's a really valuable tool.
And students understand that. They know that there's multifacets to their development and to who they are as a three-dimensional human being. And as just a tool to help anyone listening to help that have that conversation happen, I have a free video. It's on YouTube and on my website, and maybe we
Oh,
can
okay,
put it in the
good.
show notes.
Yes.
It's called The 4 Skills and 4 Steps to
Okay.
Career Success. And so it walks through these 4 skills, then it walks through longitudinally, like the steps over time for students to go through to get to know this. And so it's a 7-minute animated video. I would encourage parents to play it, watch it with your youth, especially middle school and high school, and then just say, let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about the 4 skills and how it's changing. And it's just designed to be the catalyst for a conversation. And so that's
Yes.
a really easy way. So anyone listening, you don't have to remember all of this. You can just go to the show notes. You can say, hey, after dinner, let's watch this 7-minute thing. And then you can have this conversation that hopefully can drive like a multi-month or multi-year personal learning and professional development journey. And I want to have a footnote to this, Tiffany. This is not just for our students, it's for us.
Mm.
This is for us as professionals. This is for us as adults. So we've been talking about students, but I want everyone listening to put yourself in this. What are the academic and air quotes, even if you're a parent, but what are the academic skills you need? What are the life skills you need? And in light of this technology, what's the employability and technical skills that you can add that we can
Mhm.
all learn from? I'm just learning on-demand video production from text prompting. Like, that's new. And so we're never going to stop learning. So I would encourage everyone listening to do it with duplicity. One, for students and youth in your life. Secondly, for you, because there's a lot of disruption. I think it was last week or the week before, UPS and Meta and all these companies laid off tens of thousands of workers. They're being replaced by, unfortunately, AI. And so it's a dark reality. And I don't want to be like a downer on the conversation, but we also need to future proof all of our own
Yes.
skill sets
Yeah.
so that we can anticipate, okay, if something does go sideways, like how do I prevent it or minimize the risk? But then even if it does, how can we pivot? And how can we still have some in-demand skills that might be in a transferable industry, perhaps?
Yeah.
And we also need a mindset. They call it a growth mindset, but
Mhm.
one that says we're never done learning. We can always improve and get 1% better. And we need to be ready in case we get that email. We need to be ready to pivot for ourselves and our careers as well.
Yeah, I really like that. I think it's important. And, that growth mindset is a core value of Sage Oak. And it is not just something that we instill in our students. Our teachers, they live by that, our whole administration, our staff, and certainly our parents. And in our model in particular, because we're an independent study model where their parents are educational partners with their students and guiding these conversations at home, I think it's
Yeah.
really important for them to also have the tools to be equipped to learn alongside them. And what a great way to demonstrate that growth mindset and being at a different place in your life as a parent, yet still being in a position to take inventory and be reflective and notice what's even changing for you as a parent in your world and the skills that you have to learn. I know that even our parents are having to learn new skills to educate their kids at home because their kids are online learning and they are integrating AI into what it is that they're doing. And the way that they're going about doing their schooling is changing too. And so that is just a part of it, what is actually happening on the ground level for parents. So I love that you brought them into the conversation and gave them permission to also take a little inventory on themselves and a little reflection. So good.
1,000% yes.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I want to go back to the videos and the clips and the pictures that you showed a few minutes ago, because you said a couple really great things there, and I want to tie that together. So, one is I loved that the two perspectives of the pictures were 13 years apart, and then you correlated that to the 13 years that our students spend from kindergarten through 12th grade. Because holy moly, are you right? Like 13 years isn't actually a very long time, and a lot can happen in those 13 years. And so, the idea that you can just put your head in the sand and just along is just not, it's not the approach anymore. You have to be willing to shift and willing to change and willing to evolve if you want to best position your kids once they're at the end of that 13-year stint and are exiting high school. So I loved that perspective. And then what I wanted to know from you is, okay, so we see that AI is changing. We see the speed at which AI can produce things is changing. How does that impact what our students need to know or do so that they can stay up with the curve? Do they need to know how to use AI? Do they need to know how to teach others to integrate AI? Like, where is the value base for our students? What do our students need to know?
There is I read that there's over 100 new AI apps coming out every day. So it is the rate of adoption is so hard to even get our handle on. It is impossible to say, oh, your students need to know everything about AI. That is
Right.
impossible. That's not going to happen. But I think to have a concerted effort to understand what the trends are and what some of the direction of these are, and to start learning some of the tools, to start learning some of the AI agent and the chatbot, and to learn it as a tool and how to leverage it, I think would be very wise. And it's analogous to a computer. It's a tool,
Yeah.
right? But if you didn't know how to use Microsoft Word or how to do good Google searches, you're at a deficiency compared to others. You're at a deficit, right? Others
Mhm.
will be able to run faster and jump higher than you. Same thing with AI. So I would encourage everyone to sit down and have open conversations. And first of all, we cannot be against it. And I know
Mhm.
there are a lot of people out there that
Yeah.
are afraid, and I get it, and I can appreciate that. But imagine 25 years ago being afraid of the internet and then never wanting your students to use it. Talk about just being behind the eight ball with being able to
Yeah.
be competitive. It's the same with AI. So it's here. Pandora's box has been opened. So I think it is to our benefit to sit down and learn with our students and to encourage them to learn on a weekly, if not daily basis, and find out what else is out there. Like, how do we create an AI agent? How can we leverage ChatGPT to write our LinkedIn profile? Like,
Mhm.
how do we start to use Sora to start doing some creative content generation? And how do we create AI agents with Riplet? And what could we do in the household? Like, what would be a fun problem we have in the house we could solve by creating an AI agent?
And so that makes me think about two things. Number one is that the more that our students can start to become consumers of AI and become more familiar with what's available, what's possible, and what they can do, I think there's a room to say that it's going to make them more valuable to a company who's maybe looking to have more AI integration, because they're going to be able to say, hey, I know how to use this tool in this way. And then here's where those application skills come in, where they can say, okay, let me think now how I can use those same skills, apply it to this company, and maybe bring the job description to a new place or add a different level of value to companies. Do you see that could be a beneficial skill set?
Yes, and I want to add one other layer to it. The more that students do that, the more that we help our students learn that, the more they'll be able to perceive how an existing job could totally be outsourced, eliminated, or automated. And
Yes.
that's going to be that skill of anticipation, about being able to anticipate changes in the labor market, are going to be so valuable, because none of us want our students to go to get an industry credential in something that is about to be obsolete. Like, I
Yes.
would not recommend anyone goes on right now to start a career as a speech writer, because ChatGPT is completely like changing that. That would probably not be a long-term career choice that would be result in gainful employment. But it's a good skill to have, but we
Mhm.
can't misperceive it as being a career goal. So being able to understand all the things AI can and will do will help the conversation. And here's a question to ask to your students: how might current technology replace or automate this career you're thinking of going into? Whether
Mhm.
they want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, whatever it is, how might technology and AI help you in this career? And how might it replace you or automate you, and then you'll be out of a job?
Mhm.
Again, there's two sides of that coin, but we need to discuss it so our students they start to have that career navigation skill of being able to anticipate
Yes.
what might happen. But you can't anticipate that unless you know the current capabilities of our systems and be able to dream and think a little bit about what might come down the road 1 to 5 or 13 years that will totally change the game.
Yeah, and I really like that way of thinking because when you start to say, okay, how might it replace the job that I'm currently doing? Or how might AI help enhance the job that I'm doing? I think you take the power away from the fear of that you're always going to be replaced or like, the shoe's about to drop. And instead, it puts you in a more empowered position to say, okay, then where do I need to go where the human touch, the human emotion is going to continue to be the most valuable? And then how do I best use the AI or the tools, the tech to fill in some of those other parts of the job? And I think that helps you to stay more empowered, more in control, more aware that there are going to be shifts and how to continue to follow that curves.
And I want to lean into something you just said that I think is probably one of the main takeaways. You said human touch.
Yeah.
So, as human beings, there are going to be some things that cannot be outsourced. There are going to be some things that cannot be automated. There'll be some things that AI can't do. And it has to do with all of that emotional,
Mm.
personal interconnectedness. Even in the worst case scenario 20 years from now, there will still be a need for human connection and kindness and community. I think really also the undercurrent with all of this is how do we continue to ensure our students have good interpersonal skills, that they're able to make new friends and talk to strangers and do cold calls and have all of those, what we call professional skills or
Mm.
durable skills, teamwork and communication, written skills, verbal skills. Those will be foundational. It's still
Hmm.
so important to lean into and to give like language to and define it and benchmark it and practice it. Because if everything gets automated, if the robots take over, we will still need to be able to communicate and empathize and be there for one another. So that needs to remain, that human-centered side of all of this. That's still a role we need to lean into to create just great human beings that are kind to their neighbor and know how to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah. You know what? I couldn't agree more. And I think that's ultimately what our parents want. That's why they're pouring into their kids the way that they are and investing so much of this time in educating them through this independent study type of program is because they want them to be great people who are passionate about what they're doing, who feel like they've had an education that's personalized to their academic levels and their interests so that they can continue to grow into the kind of person that can contribute and have a thriving career and have a thriving life. And I think it's really great to say that what we've talked about today doesn't stop you from doing that. It can enhance the way that you do things because now you are equipped with the tools that you need to stay up with the changing landscape of the careers and of the college pathways, and that you can continue to actually, as a response to the AI, it's going to force you to grow as more of a human to say, can I pivot? Can I think differently? Can I think more critically about what's possible? Can I take what I thought was concrete and look at it in a more abstract way? It really, in a way, is stretching you as a person, as a student, as an academic, as an employee someday. So I think that's a really interesting twist on this conversation that parents are going to be surprised to hear.
That's so good. That was brilliant. There's your soundbite for this whole podcast right there. That was good.
I love it. It was so good. Okay. If our parents want to learn more about some of the frameworks that you mentioned today, how to get into these conversations, how to take the next step with their kids, where should they go? What should they do next?
So the first I'd mention is I'll send you the links. You can provide it to anyone listening, but there's that video, 4 skills and 4 steps. So I'll provide that as well as a link to my YouTube channel on which I have a lot of different videos that might be helpful in thinking about this. I also have one about informational interviews and how to build social capital and networks. That would also be a video. Again, it'll be linked on my YouTube channel. That'd be really good for everyone to watch in light of everything happening. So that'd be one. My website is kevinjfleming.com if people just want to get my newsletter or follow up with some more work that I'm supporting. The other thing I would recommend is there's a book I recently read that I want to plug. It's not mine. Hans Meter wrote a book called Preparing Tomorrow's Workforce. And this is a really great book that talks about if you want to get like really into how to help my child with the career navigation skills and what are career navigation skills and what questions should I ask. There's a really good book. At the end of each chapter, he has this little part about what parents can do, what educators can do, what policymakers can do. So it's a very great, not just big picture book, but then tactical like questions to ask your teen. So Preparing Tomorrow's Workforce is a book I'd recommend. And if you have littles, shameless plug, if you have littles between K and third grade, I wrote a children's book called There's a
Oh,
Hat for
nice.
That. And that helps just
Cute.
plant that seed, age appropriate, that says you're going to wear a lot of hats throughout their life. You're going to have a lot of different jobs and you want to explore and try them on and find the hats that fit you best. If you're looking for a holiday or birthday gift for that K through third grader, I'll give you that website for the show notes, but it's there'sahatforthat.com.
I love that. So great. And what a great way to just start to have these conversations about all the different things that are coming your way. And it's good for students to know that even at a very early age. So, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I absolutely love this conversation. I think it's so exciting to see how our world is shifting and how we at Sage Oak are continuing to have these conversations so that our students and our parents are prepared for that changing landscape and that they are continuing to grow and evolve and be ready for the next step. So thank you so much for all you're doing to lead this conversation and for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. The future of education is customized and personalized and tailored. And you and Sage Oak and every parent listening, you're in the right trajectory. You're in the right place. You're going in the right direction. So I want to just encourage you to keep pushing forward. You're doing great work and look forward to supporting you in any way I can moving forward. Thank you for having me today.
I love it. So good. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Sage Studio. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.